Hi guys, today we're going to be exploring using a protractor to measure the degrees of angles. So our learning intention today is to measure angles with a protractor. Your success criteria is that you can measure angles with a protractor. Even if you think that you're sure on how to use a protractor, maybe have a watch of this just to make sure that you got it right and that you can brush up on it for the work that we're doing this week. Let's have a look now. Alright guys, this here is a protractor. Now, protractors can come in different types. There's a type that measures, like this one, 180 degrees. There's also a type that can measure 360 degrees, which goes right around in the full circle. For today, we're just going to be focusing on the ones that can measure up to 180 degrees, like the ones that we get mostly at school. So, when we're measuring with a protractor, there's some important things to remember. Just like our rulers, we don't start right on the edge of the protractor, not down here. We actually start from the big, thick black line and we align the first leg of our angle against that line. Now, secondly, we have to align the corner of our angle where that line intersects or where it meets with the 90-degree line. So that is down the bottom here. So here's our 90-degree line. And here's where we show our intersection. Now, it's really important that we get that right when we're measuring the angles. Otherwise, our angles that we measure are going to be off. And it's important that our angles are all the same so that if you're drawing something or you're showing somebody the angles, they know how many exact degrees that they need to make something if you're drawing plans or that sort of thing. All right, let's have a look at measuring some angles. So let's start with these two angles. Now, the first thing that we're going to do when we get our protractor and we see our angles, we're going to have a look for the angle markers, and that's these here. Now that tells us what angle we're going to measure. Now, if this angle marker showed around the bottom, that means we would have to measure the angle right from here all the way around. But we don't. On this one, we're measuring this top angle from here to here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up our protractor and we're going to move it over. Now we're going to align not with the bottom of the protractor, but with the back line, the first or the flat leg of our angle. Then we're going to move it over so that where our 90 degrees intersects with the corner, we're going to bring that to the corner of our angle. So as you can see here, our 90 degree intersection and our flat base are lined up on the corner. Now, as you can see with our protractor, there's two scales. There's an inside scale, which is on the inside, which is here where I'm drawing. And there's an outside scale, which is on the outside, which is here where I'm drawing. Now, what's important is that you line up and you only use the scale from the way that you are using the protractor. So, in this case, if we take away all of these lines we've drawn, we can see the first leg of our angle comes across this way. So we're using the 0. We're starting from 0 on this side. So what that means is we're using the inside scale. So we're using the inside scale to count all the way around and measure our angle. So let's do that. So we'll count in tens because that's what our protractor goes up by. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. And remember, that's a special angle. That's our right angle. 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150. Now, we're halfway or about halfway between our 150 and our 160. Now, as you can see on the outside, we have little degradations. Now, these little degradations here are in tens. So each of them equals 1 degree. So 150, 151, 152, 153, because we're 3 little degradations around. So this angle would be 153. But we can't stop there. We actually need to show that it's in degrees. So it's 150 degrees is this angle here. Now, if we move our protractor out of the way, we can see that this angle here is 153 degrees. Let's look at that angle on the bottom and let's line him up. Now, remembering with our protractor, we need to line up along the black line with the base, and the end of the first leg of our angle needs to be lined up with the 90. Okay, So we've done that. Now, we need to choose which scale are we going to use. Are we using the outside scale or the inside scale? Now, because our flat part is across this way, then we wouldn't start at 180 degrees, would we? We'd start at the 0 degrees. So again, we're going to count up by our 10. So 10, 20, 30. Again, our angle doesn't quite stop at the 30 or the 40. It's about halfway between. So we're going to use these little integrations. So we're going to say 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. So we're going to say that this angle inside here is 35, not forgetting the units, is degrees. All right, let's have a look at measuring some different angles. Let's have a measure of these angles down here. All right, we're not going to do this first angle because he's very, very much like our other ones. But if we were going to do that, we would move our protractor to the middle, making sure our 90 degrees lines up with the corner and the end of our first leg, and we would count around. Now, for this one under here, again, we're bringing our protractor down and we're joining our protractor to the edge of our first one. Now, where this one is a little bit different is we're going to have a look at our scale. So are we using the inside or the outside scale? Well, for this one, because our flat is running to this side, we wouldn't start at 180 and use the inside scale. We'd start at the 0 and use the outside scale. So using the outside, we start with 0, 10, 20, 30. Oh, we're not at the 40 yet, so we use the little integrations. 41, 42, 43. So our angle is 43 degrees. All right, now it gets a little bit tricky when we're drawing or trying to measure reflex angles. So let's have a look at how to measure a reflex angle. Now, as we know, a reflex angle is an angle past 180 degrees. So if an angle goes past 180 degrees, how do we measure it on our protractor that only goes up to 180 degrees? Well, there's two ways you can do it. You can get a protractor that shows all 360 degrees, and that's a tricky way to do it. Or we can measure assuming that our angle already has 180 degrees. So we're going to flip our protractor over, make sure he's all facing the right way. We're going to put him on the corner. Now, for this one, we have to imagine there's an imaginary line. So there's an imaginary line that extends through our 180 degrees because we've already got 180 degrees in this top section. So we need to just find out this little bit in here. So we're going to start, because we're going from here to here, we're going to start with our inside 0 and we're going to count it up. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 65, 66, 67, 68. So it's this angle here is 68 degrees. But we can't stop there. We've measured the 68 in the bottom portion, but we've also got 180 degrees at the top. So what we have to do, because it's a reflex angle and it's greater than 180, is we have to add them together. And we can just do that using the stack method. So we can say 180 plus 68 equals, we can say 0 plus 8 equals 8. 8 plus 6 equals 14. Put our 4 there, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 equals 2. So that means that the total degrees of this inside angle is 248 degrees. So what we've done is we've broken our angle down into our first 180 degrees, and then we've worked out the area or the angle below the 180 degrees. Let's delete that one. Let's do another example. So we already know that our straight is 180 degrees. So we know that our straight angle here through this section from this point to this point equals 180 degrees, because that's our straight line, isn't it? So now we have to find this little angle in here. Now, if you look at that little angle, we know that because it's going to be less than 90, that it's going to be an acute angle. So what we do, we grab our protractor and we line him up with our line at the top, making sure that our 90 degrees is in line with the end of the bottom line of the angle. And then we're going to count up. We're going to count up from 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, and we're just past 40. So if we extend that out, we're at 42 degrees. So this angle in here is 42 degrees. All right, let's move the protractor out of the way. So we've got 180 degrees at the top. So this area at the top here is 180 degrees. Then we've got another 42 degrees down here. Now we can't just leave it at 42 and 180 degrees. So what we have to do is we have to add them up. So once again, we can just stack them. So we say 180 plus 42 equals, so 0 plus 2 is 2. 8 plus 4 equals 12. So 2, carry the 1, 222, and making sure to put the units degrees. So girls and boys, there's some ways to use a protractor. Now, as part of our work for this week, I want you to try and use your protractor to measure some angles. Make sure that you're using the proper inside and outside scale. And remember, when you get to those reflex angles, just measure the angle underneath and add 180 degrees, and that should work great. Today, girls and boys, your learning intention was to measure angles with a protractor, and your success criteria was that you could measure those angles with a protractor. Hopefully this has given you some tips, some ideas, and you know how to do it going forward. If you need any help, make sure you talk to your teacher over Seesaw, and we can give you a hand with it. Have fun. Bye for now.